Business is political, and it's time you start acting like it.
How much a dollar really costs?
Today is March 2nd, 2025, and 2 days ago, February 28th, 2025, there was a meeting between Donald Trump, or President Donald Trump, President Zelensky, and Vice President J.D. Vance on essentially negotiations around how to end the war in Ukraine and the invasion of Russia into Ukraine. And it made me think, because during the conversations that were being had, there were discussions happening on social media, TikTok, Instagram, Threads, around how this is being handled and frankly how we placed a person who is supposed to be this incredible businessman running the country as a corporation, etc. Here's the issue with that. When business is political and you run a country like a corporation, you are at that point placing yourself in a space where you are allowing your constituents, your citizens, the people who live in your country to be treated as if they are expendable and replaceable, when the people in general are the ones who are contributing to how the country functions in the first place. Our money that we earn, whether it be through jobs, through our businesses, we pay through taxes. All of our taxes get used for systems that are supposed to make the country better, supposed to help people. Things like social services, things like welfare, things like social security. All of those things contribute to the well-being and welfare of our citizens in the country. When those are selfishly taken away from people out of political interest, that is when business becomes political. Whenever you are able to target people based off of their identity and try to get them to shut down business or operations of business, like their diversity, equity, and inclusion programs to create a more equitable playing field for people who are just trying to get a job, a decent paying job that they can live and build their life in, LOL, on the pursuit of happiness, that is when business becomes political. When it is harder for businesses that are owned by people of color or marginalized populations to get their footing or seek funding or increase their marketing efforts or their followings to increase their sales because of implicit bias, that is when business becomes political. But here's the thing, business has always been political. Business has been political from the very beginning. When you look at the history of the United States, there has been a long-standing effort to ensure that if you were not a white, rich man, that it was going to be difficult for you to be able to own land, to have influence, to have freedom, and to be subservient to folks who were rich, land-owning men. So knowing this, that means that you could be an LGBTQ-owned business and be attacked for supporting trans rights or just being who you are, being married to your spouse, and living your day-to-day life. And because you own a business and you're queer, then that opens you up to attack, right? Or you could be a black woman who lives in a not-so-friendly area and be attacked because you opened up a bookstore. This is a real occurrence as well. There are so many examples of how identity-based politics have infringed on people's livelihoods when it comes to running their businesses and their quality of life because of who they are. And that in itself is political because we choose to allow policies that gives people the ability to discriminate towards folks based off of their race, gender, and we do not vote in our overall interest and put people into power who want to continue to make people small, make it hard for them to grow and build their own platforms, build their own businesses, to have their own freedom, all because they were not born in a space of privilege and power. Now, if you're saying, hey, I was born in those things, I don't support any of this, but I don't know what to do, that is fine. Here's the thing, we can't control how we were born, we can't control what families we were born into, and we can't control a lot of things about our identity. The things that we can control, though, is how we teach people to treat each other, teach our children how to treat each other, and do business differently. How are we creating our platforms to hold space for one another, to diversify the conversations we're having, to open the door and continue to keep the gate open when it comes to getting into industries and resources, and spread the wealth around to people who are trying to make a difference in their lives by owning their own businesses, by working hard, by building their freedom, creating a better space and place for their communities. We can do that with the platforms that we have, but we have to also be very aware that we do carry privilege and space to call out folks who don't want to and or are explicitly discriminating towards others because of who they are. Now, if you're feeling helpless and you honestly don't know what to do or how to execute things right now because of what's happening politically in our country or what has been happening to people who belong to marginalized populations, or even scared for yourself that you might lose the freedom that you have, you might lose the business that you have, you might lose the financial stability that you have. I'm going to give you some steps that you can take to start taking action now, because your voice and your tax dollars are powerful, and you can choose how to spend those, how to use your voice and what platform you want to create. So for one, the first thing you can do is to acknowledge that, hey, I have privilege and I really want to start using my platform in a way that betters all of us. This is a hard thing to do for a lot of folks because it makes people uncomfortable, and the conversation is going to make other people around you uncomfortable. But the more you use your platform to speak on your values, and the more that you talk about uncomfortable conversations, the more doors open to the people you care about and the people that you're leading to have those conversations for themselves and to start diving deeper. The second thing you can do is get yourself in a space where you are learning. So there are a ton of different educators in the online space if you're running an online business, or just people who have been running different programs in different universities, certification programs, etc., who are having conversations about diversity, equity, inclusion, anti-racism in business, and are able to hold space for you as you're in this learning process. Now, this doesn't mean that you're going to get yelled at or shamed or for any of that capacity that because of who you are and what you've done in your past that you're a bad person. You're not. Again, you had no control over the fact that you were born this way. None of us do. But we all have to, unfortunately, walk and be perceived in this world by how we look, how we act, what we are, and then how we identify and how we choose to identify. Because of all these things, we have to hold that with a very big pill to swallow, frankly, and be able to say, okay, hey, I am who I am. I absolutely carry these implicit biases, and I really want to work hard to make a better place for myself and my community by being a better person, and I'm learning these things. Getting in training is going to be important. I do have a program and a book that I wrote because I used to run it live years ago. They need to be updated, and if you want to access those, it's down below. But there are also a lot of different great people you can follow or you can start purchasing from to work with. There are so many other folks that I've listed inside of my book, Inclusive Strategies for Your Coaching Business, that you can access as well to find people. There are folks who are still doing this work even when there is an active administration trying to shut it down and trying to shut down the efforts that we're doing to make the world a better place. The third thing you could do is opening up your platform to have more conversations with people within your industry who come from diverse backgrounds. This does not mean that just because someone is black and brown that you should now go out and hire them and create diversity in your programs and in your platform. No, actually seek out, actually get to know people, actually put the effort into learning from them. Seek out their expertise because they're damn good at what they do, and then bring them in and share your platform. Start sharing content from your favorite creators who are from marginalized backgrounds. Start having tougher conversations with communities. When we're able to get out of our perspective of what we experience itself and start walking in the shoes of other people, it allows us to say, oh shoot, hey, I've never experienced anything like that in my life, and my view of the world actually might be wrong, and that is okay. When you're able to do that, you're able to actually call out that you might need more work or preparedness within training when it comes to the experiences of people belonging to marginalized populations. The fourth thing you can do is donate your funds, or even start donating your funds on a regular basis from your offerings. Something that I love supporting and love working with is businesses that have very active campaigns towards people who volunteer, people who are donating to organizations, whether it be locally or worldwide, who profit share and send out their funds and document that and share that with that communities. People who are actively taking the time to take a piece of their profits and put it towards the community is a win. Huge win. This is a great time to find an organization in a population of people that are being targeted, like LGBTQ folks, like trans folks, like folks who are trying to get freedom around abortion rights, etc. So many ways that you can actively do some good with the money that you're making, especially if you have a large following and especially if you have a large profit margin. You can do this really, really well. And if you don't have the money, then you do have the time, so go volunteer. The next thing you can do, and the next thing that I would heavily suggest that you do, is get more active civically. So this means, because again, business is political, your tax dollars, the money that you send to the government to execute on your behalf different services, different actions that are supposed to be taken on your behalf in your city, your state, and federally, your tax dollars as a business owner go directly to that. And oftentimes, business owners do not get to see that money back. Be mindful, be cognizant of that thought, and actively call your representatives. Call your representatives, call your senators, call your AG, call the governor, call anybody, no matter where you live. I'm in Texas, and I have been calling my reps every single week, multiple times a week, because I thoroughly believe that it doesn't matter if it's freaking Ted Cruz or if it's Al Green, and those are Republican and Democrat examples here in Texas. It doesn't matter who they are, but if I can flood the voicemails with enough anger and frustration, and I know there are other people who are doing that as well, hopefully it will influence the folks who are in office to be like, whoa, people are angry enough to where this could cause an issue within my seat, my office, my influence. Yes, it should. You work for us and we give you the money. Like, be for real. We've gotten so politically bipartisan to where people are choosing to think on their own interests as our representatives. End of it all, they're supposed to be representing us. And if enough of us are saying we don't want you to continue giving funds to genocide, we don't want you taking away the rights of trans folks and LGBTQ folks, we don't want women's rights taken away, we want our social services to ensure that everyone can eat and sleep in a warm home. If you scream loud enough, if you call enough, if you go out enough and say, hey, please fix this, you can make a difference. So call your reps, call your senators. If you want to go in person through a town hall or even set a meeting and lobby on the behalf of your causes, please do. This is the time for us to get active. This is the time for us to get involved. We should be making time, especially for business owners, and we have the time to do it, to go and be of influence in these spaces because we voted for them. If you did, or if you voted in general, we voted. We have the right to now hold the folks accountable, whether we voted for them or not. The last thing you can do is put your money where your mouth is. You can also do different projects within your company to create more equitable options for your base that may be of lower income or just be struggling financially. So I love using mutual aid campaigns. Within your cities or your communities, there might be people who are asking for funds to help make rent next month or pay for groceries. Folks who are struggling due to natural disasters. Folks who are struggling to get access to health care, etc. Mutual aid funds and mutual aid initiatives are a great way to give back to people. You can also set up a grant program within your business as well and give out grant funding to your target audience, especially those who are in need. I have done that in the past. It was one of the most fulfilling things I have ever done. And I used grant funding that I got from American Express and iFund Women to make that happen. Speaking of, you can crowdfund. So platforms like iFund Women, platforms like Patreon, platforms like Coffee, platforms like GoFundMe, all of these crowdfunding platforms or subscription-based platforms, you can raise funds to help not only raise awareness around the work that you're doing, but also put money back into people's pockets. Great ways to get active and get things going. To be clear, because this just happened, this does not mean you set up an initiative to do a boycott and then raise $100,000 on GoFundMe with no documentation of where that money is going. Please don't be problematic. There should not be GoFundMe campaigns for boycotts, but you can use your platform to raise funds, document where the money is going, actively show your folks that, hey, we give money here. Pull those receipts, but find places to give that fund to and spread that money equitably. There are so many ways that all of us could be helping and working towards a better future for each other. And I love mutual aid and crowdfunding campaigns for that, and for the folks who have been doing active work in that too. It's amazing because it sometimes takes us to save us. It takes us to make a difference. It takes us to do the due diligence. I saw a TikTok of a woman who was so angry that the city hadn't fixed the pothole on her corner that was massive too. So she quite literally got the tools and filled the pothole herself. Sometimes it takes us to save us. All of this is just an example of what we could be doing and how business is political, and that yes, times are really freaking tough. This is not a fun time to be in, but it is a radical time for us to make change and a enlightening time to show people that we are on the same page fighting for the same thing, which at the end of the day, everyone wants the ability to be free. Everyone has the ability to pursue happiness, to be in a space of freedom in this country. Our Constitution and the amendments within it are supposed to create freedoms and well-being and a life for all of us to be able to thrive. If you're on the side of history that wants to ensure that we are all able to thrive, to live, to be free, to run our businesses, to create a long-standing legacy for our children and for this planet, then we have to be more actively involved and actually say, hey, yes, business is political. Yes, I was born the way that I was and I can't change anything about that. Yes, there are things about me that I carry that have privilege. There are things about me that I carry that have oppression. But you are damn skippy. Am I going to let any of that stop me or the people that I love and care about from being able to thrive in this space in this country? Business is political. You have to start acting like it is, and there are so many ways to do that. I hope this video helped. Love y'all. Peace.